Where do you still need to see your team improve after 2 exhibition games the most?
Yeah, probably just communication, defense, staying connected. I think that's where we get lost more than anything, to where either there's that uncertainty as the individual player or just somebody not communicating what they're doing. I think that's what, more than each individual guy is just trying to being able to help each other. And we got to do a better job communicating. We got to do a better job just overall defensively, which is with the details of our system.
Everybody's going to label you the national champion runner-up last year, but this team is, as a whole as it is now, is not the national championship runner-up. There's pieces of it, but do you relay that message that, like, hey, this is a completely new team?
Yeah, I think they understand that. It's not something you have to really talk about. You really talk more about just doing your job and having a purpose of what you're doing out there. And I think that's the thing that's been pretty good for us is we've had 7 turnovers in 2 games. So we've taken care of the basketball. So if we can take care of the basketball, we can rebound the basketball and keep getting better defensively, we got to create, that'll create an identity for us. I think a lot of people, especially coaches, you try to talk your identity into existence. That just doesn't work. Like, you got to work your way. And we're saying, like, well, hey, we're a good defensive team. They said, well, the only thing that states you're a good defensive team is your words. We want it to be our numbers, right? We want to keep them out of the paint. We want to be stingy. We want to make them have tough twos. We want them to shoot a low percentage from 3, keep them away from the rim, things of that nature. If you're doing that and you're taking care of the basketball and staying out of transition, then you can identify as a good team.
Have you made decisions on red shirts yet?
Not yet. Jack Benner's going to redshirt, and we're still kind of working it out with Raleigh. It gets to be more than anything, and this kind of stinks, so I'm going to say it, for the individuals that you need certain individuals, but you don't always need them. You want to have, when you're a starter and you play 30 minutes, well, that's what you want as a player, right? You want that, and we just don't have that right now. It doesn't mean somebody can't grow into that to where they play all the time. But right now, with the guys that come off of our bench, especially the guys on the front line, we just haven't had anybody outside of Trey Kaufman really separate themselves. It doesn't mean good things haven't happened, but you just haven't seen it where it's clear cut to where, Trey Kaufman-Rinn's going to start with Zach, Mason's going to come off the bench, but either one of them could finish the game for us, right? We're just not there yet. Trey's really established himself, and now it could be by committee, and that's with Raleigh. He helps us because he has size to guard somebody big, but yet he can stretch the defense. He can play, on the interior and post up, and he's got good athleticism, good strength. Now just kind of learning 2 different positions and how much would we need him. And a little bit it's dependent on how well other people play or how well they don't play, which is a terrible way to look at it, but it's true.
Is it a true minutes thing for him, or is there any consideration still with the leg injury he had, whether?
Yeah, his leg is fine, but that's not not a piece of it. He hasn't missed anything. So yeah, it's minutes and it's consistency from not just him, but it's consistency from everybody. That's what really, as a coach, you want to do what's best for your team, but you also want to do what's best for the individual, and you want them to be one in itself. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're like, okay, let's do what's best for the individual and let's redshirt him. And then, you get 10 games in the season, you're like, well, damn, I wish we had him. It's hard. You can only, make your decision with the data that you currently have.
You've talked about regretting the redshirt decisions you didn't make. Has it gone the other way? Have you regretted
No.
ones that?
No. I didn't think so. But it doesn't mean it couldn't happen. I think the last year with our team, I didn't really push the envelope anywhere, just because I thought keeping all your bullets, with the team that we had. And I feel the same way this year. We have a chance to win our league. If you have a chance to win our league, then you have a chance to go to a Final Four. So don't shortchange yourself. But sometimes having more isn't better, and sometimes it is, right? So
you have multiple coaches on the staff who redshirted when they were players. You have a handful of players on the roster already. Do you feel like there's a good support system, I guess, for lack of a better term, if someone is going to?
We have a great support system across the board, whether you redshirt or you don't redshirt. And so, I think that piece of it, it's just human, behavior to feel like you're being left out, right? Because you can't play in games. So like we do a good job with our strength training. We do a good job conditioning wise, trying to make those game days, a little bit harder for them. But they go on our scout team, so like they get a lot of reps as the other team and being able to play at that time.
A lot of people are going to talk about your front court, and Trey Coffin-Run has set himself apart, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. With the other guys, what do you hope to see out of them tomorrow night as they kind of, as you kind of figure that out?
Just consistency, like who can establish themselves as a good interior defender, who can be a consistent rebounder. And the one thing I always throw out there is like it's really hard, like when you timeshare, like how much are you really supposed to get done in 12 minutes, right? And so, but when you don't, separate yourself. Like I don't know how else to do that one. So like that's what we're really looking for, that consistency to where we can run efficient offense with you. You're a good defensive player. You know what's going on more than anything. I think that overall, that kind of that intellectual DNA to where like we're all on the same page and we know what we're doing. You'd be surprised with the teams that are out there and the guys that run stuff, like they don't know plays, they don't know what's going on. And then like, eventually you just get exposed because of that. Like we obviously don't want that. We work long and hard on knowing what we're running and how efficient it is, but then defensively doing your job and then understanding different styles and what that can bring out. So that's what we're really looking for from those guys.
How much fluidity is there still with Cam and Miles in the big picture of your lineups?
Yeah.
Kind of still being experimented with a little bit.
Yeah, not really. You kind of experiment, but you kind of don't. You're just playing people, right? And so like you're just trying to get people minutes, and then some bozo tweets out like, hey, I really don't like this lineup. I'm like, well, I'm just trying to get people minutes so they can play in a game and they have some experience. They're like, you're up 47 in an exhibition game and you don't like the lineup, okay? But it's, when you're looking at where we were 2 years ago and then where we got last year, and then you still have the same pieces in your backcourt and Braden and Fletch, Lance really helped us there with how he, was as a player. He can handle it, he was quick, he could guard people, he could make a shot. That helps those other guys because now CJ and Jakari can handle the basketball. They bring us quickness. They can guard people. And so that really helps us across the board. Now those other guys as big wings, we've tried to play Cam some at the 4. It's a real minutes crunch there, but playing him at the 3 and the 4 and then playing Miles at the 3, there's just not as many minutes as you would think along those lines if you commit to playing those other guys too. So they got to find their way. Everybody that gets in practice looks better with Braden, right? Is the way he passes, the way he sets you up. So like, oh man, he's really playing well. Then you look up and you're like, oh, he's with Braden today. Like, but we're all going to look better with him. He's a great player. He makes other people better. And that's kind of the true test of a player, right? Do you make your teammates make better? But we need both of those guys. Their athleticism, their shot making ability really helps us. It helps us spread the floor. It helps us have good spacing.
Is that still a personnel dynamic you're working through? Something on your mind that, hey, we have to leverage what these guys do well in one way or another?
Yeah, like you got to be able to play, but you can't coach both teams. Like you get in practice, you can coach both teams. Like you can sit there in a practice and somebody hits a 3 and I can be happy he hit it, or I can be mad at the guy who's guarding. Like you can go either way with that, right? But when you get in the game, that's not the case. But the problem with the game is you can only coach one team. So like if they want to come up here and press us, if they want to come in here and deny Braden Smith the ball, we got to have other ball handlers playing out there. Like it's just an absolute. Like, and if you look into the season and you say, okay, what do you think people were going to do to us last year? They're like, well, I think Zach Edey might get some attention. Well, who the hell you think is going to get attention now? Like, wouldn't you go take the ball out of Braden Smith's hands? Wouldn't you double Braden Smith? Wouldn't you trap Braden Smith? Like, that's, sure. So don't we want more ball handlers out there and more decision makers? So if that's what they're going to do, that's what we have to do. But if they're not going to do that and they want to stay traditional, and we do have some teams in our league, that are traditional teams, those guys could, they could have a better opportunity to play in some of those games, but they have an opportunity in that little equation there. There's just not as many minutes if you play those guys, when people are trying to go after you.
Do you know enough about Corpus Christi right now to know if they do anything stylistically that'll expose some things in the team that you
we'll
want to get
see.
better at?
Like, they run good stuff, and everybody's going to do something in terms of ball screens, right? Everybody's going to be able to play there. But yeah, no, we have tape from last year, and obviously some stuff from this year. And they run good stuff. They're well coached. Obviously, defensively, they get after it. They got some guys that can break you down off the dribble. I would say that for us is kind of a key part, just because trying to keep the ball out of the paint more than anything.
It seemed like an emphasis offensively in the 2 exhibition games was to get Braden and Fletcher on the move with the ball in space. And you kind of did it faking a handoff, then going to a handoff right after.
All right.
Where do you draw the inspiration from some of these for them, and what do you like about them getting the ball on the move?
Yeah, you can do a lot of different things with Braden and ball screen stuff, and just giving the ball up and then getting him into advantageous action and getting him on the move and you're just trying to move the defense more than anything, and getting them either trailing you or getting them into a closeout. We try to get Fletch where in positions where we set stuff up, the guys are helping. Now they get into a closeout because he's really good with angles. Braden's very good at manipulating the defense, once he gets that guy off of him, and now he gets people into help.
Does defense usually lag behind offense at this point of the season? Just
Yes.
usually?
Yes.
And so that's something that you guys are obviously working against as you try to shape up people.
Right. For us, it's normally kind of that domino effect. Like, if everybody just keeps doing their job, it just leads to good things. And then, when you start behind plays, you normally finish behind plays. But if you don't play people that can make you pay, you think you're playing good defense, when in reality, once you get behind that play and they don't make you pay, you watch tape and you're like, well, Michigan State's going to make you pay there. You know what I mean? Ohio State's going to make you pay there. So that's an issue. And I think that's what we get into right now. Like, we reach too much, we foul too much right now because we're behind plays. And if you just do your job and stay with it and stick to our rules, more times than not, unless you're in a scramble, you're going to be okay.